Truth, Reality, and Alternate Lives, a Salvia divinorum 20x extract trip report by Funknarock, uploaded to Arrowwood, February 27th, 2010. For years, I had heard of Salvia and seen it in head shops, but I never paid it much attention. I figured that anything that readily available couldn't give the results that it promised. However, after years of experimenting with a wide array of psychoactives, I figured that I would finally give it a try. I had also figured that I'd been there, done that, with everything from LSD, LSA, peyote, and mushrooms, that I didn't need to worry too much about something you can buy online for $31 a gram. So I looked it up online and read some of the basics. Powerful, short duration, overwhelming. Then I bought a gram of 20 times. What is important to state here about this salvia is that it may be different from others because this particular source takes the extract and pours it over Hawaiian leaves that burn at a much lower temperature, making it smoke faster and smoother. When it arrived, my neighbor and best friend decided to come over and take part in the experience with me. None of us could have guessed what we, especially me, were in for. Most people would classify the following trip as a bad trip, but as far as I'm concerned, there is no such thing. So this is simply an account of what happened, to the best of my knowledge. Jordan, my best friend, 220 pounds, and a very experienced user, went first, loading an average-sized bowl and cashing it on the first hit. He didn't react at first. He just stood there with a blank expression and clumsily set down the pipe. After about 30 seconds, he finally walked to the other room silently. I figured it best not to bother him in whatever state of mind that he might be in at the time, so me and the neighbor waited for him to come back down on his own. Just a minute or two later, he did, and he told me that it was like peeking on shrooms as he laughed, stumbled, and drooled. With much excitement due to his appearance in comparison to mushrooms, I packed a rather large bowl and quickly took it down in one hit as well. This is when things completely changed. It's funny. You never really see the big things in life coming, and this was definitely one of them. It changed the way I think about life as we know it. As I held the hit in, it felt like it was causing me to rise off the ground. Afraid that I would get too high off the ground and possibly fall, I let a hit out, along with the phrase, too much, which was met with laughter from my friends. They didn't fully realize what was going on quite yet. I was instantly transported, not only to another world, but another life and another reality. As only a person who has tripped before would know, it felt much more real than this world. And I knew that it was real, and that I had been there before, but not visiting. This was home. This homecoming, as it seemed, was not a joyous occasion in the least. I found myself as a small, the size of a human head, aquatic life form, somewhat resembling a Dr. Seuss drawing. I was horribly depressed. It was an instant feeling and was completely on the other end of the spectrum from the moment before when I was floating in the air. I was also unaware of the moment before, and the life before. I had no idea that I was, well, whoever I am, and most importantly, I had no idea that I had done anything to alter my perception of reality. So as I sat in my tank with other such aquatic beings, I became aware of two larger land creatures leaning over the edge and pointing at me. One was male, and the other, slightly smaller, was female. They both looked like a Disney knockoff cartoon, a little like Mickey and Minnie Mouse. They were arguing when I began to understand what they were saying. The female said, "I want that one," and pointed to me. The male wasn't so apt to purchase me, though, and explained to the female why. "This one's broken. Look at him. He thinks he is a man. It happens all the time with these things. Their lives are so horrible in so many ways that if you left them alone, they would simply die from mental self-destruction. So we feed them drugs and implant false memories into them. But sometimes they're here too long and get too much, and when that happens, they start to believe it all. See, look at him. He's broken. He thinks he's a man." When I heard this, I began to slightly remember my life as a human, though I wasn't sure who I was. Believe me when I say that nothing, I mean nothing, is more terrifying than a giant animated mouse telling his mate that everything you have ever known, everyone you have ever loved, and everything you ever held dear was an illusion. And worst of all, I believed him. It felt right. It felt real. But I couldn't be sure. I tried to fight it mentally, to somehow use whatever mind that I had to push out all that wasn't real and only leave what was. As this was happening, the female had apparently won the argument. The tank began to drain, and I was to walk. I was somewhat in human form, though still had the same small size, out of the tank using a ramp. As I grudgingly walked out of the tank with my mind swirling over what I had just heard and felt, I began to realize that this place looks like the kitchen I had in my human life. I saw my friend and neighbor in there too. They were smiling. This made me so mad, that someone could smile when all of this was happening to me. Did they play a part in it? I realized that I couldn't explain things now, so I tore off my shirt and threw the salvia under the cupboard in some attempt to protect us all from it. Then I stumbled into my room and laid on my bed in the dark to reflect on what had just happened. As I laid there, trying with no avail to comprehend what I had just experienced, a memory popped into my head, a rather unpleasant one for the time. It was a memory of a young kid, about 14, that had done salvia for the first time and later killed himself. He left behind a note stating that he had to do it. He knew things about life that he couldn't explain, but if he could, everyone would understand his decision. This rattled me after what I had just been through. It took weeks to really digest it all. After a lot of thought, I realized more about myself, my life, and my soul than I ever could have without this experience. Later, when I talked to my friend about it, he told me that from his perspective on it, it only lasted about 15 minutes. I just squatted down in the kitchen laughing, then suddenly stopped and looked around. Then I drooled an unimaginable amount before stumbling into my bed. All in all, I had an awesome time. It was without a doubt the most terrifying thing that has happened to me in any state of mind. But being shaken to my very core helped me realize who I really am. I just want to add at the end here that, as you may have noticed, I am going to be switching up my disclaimers a little bit. I know I haven't done this in the past. It never really occurred to me to do it, but for some reason today, when I was reading this report, I was like, oh, maybe that's something I should add. So in the future, I will be adding disclaimers for suicide, self-harm, and sexual assault mentions in videos. I just kind of feel like that's the right thing to do, and so that's what I'm going to do. It's only going to be like 3 to 6 seconds longer than usual. As always, my disclaimers are going to be timestamped, so you can just skip them if you want. But yeah, and I just want to say, if you made it to this point in this video, thank you so much for listening, and I will see you guys in the next one. Stay safe out there, y'all. Peace.